The first hint was the silence. No scanner chatter. No quick tones from dispatch. Just whined through the cottonwoods and my father's flag whispering against the pole. My coffee cooled on the porch rail while that quiet settled. Into my bones like the world's heartbeat had slipped. I think she did it. Tom said, breathless, jogging up the gravel. Lines are dead. Police can't reach dispatch. City crew says the fiber's cut by the front gate. The front gate are HOA's crown jewel. Black iron, brick pillars. Flowers that never match the season. A sign that read like a warning. Standards keep us safe. Karen's sign. She'd had it put up the week she took over as president. She loved rules the way some folks love pets. If a thing didn't have a rule, she wrote one. We'd butted heads since I moved the flagpole to where the morning caught it just right. She wanted uniform frontage, wanted to salute the sun the way my father taught me. I set down the mug. The porch boards answered under my boots. Show me, I told Tom, keeping my voice even. We cut across the pasture, grass wet to the shins. My father's old truck sat under the pecan rust at the fenders like lichen door that still greeted you with a creak. A man should know the weight of his own tools, he used to say. I heard him as we reached the road and found the city crew bunched by the pedestal, eyes tight. Shoulders raised, the fiber duct was slashed clean where it rose into the hand-hold bright ribbons of glass and sheath. Someone meant it. The crew chief, Devisa woman, who didn't show fear unless there was a reason, rubbed the back of her neck. Dispatch is on backup radio only, she said. 911 S wobbling. Network's dark. Golf cart wind up behind us. Karen rolled in, chin high, sunglasses like shields. 2 board members flanked her like bookends. She didn't look at the cut. She looked at me. I warned you about the unsightly conduit, she said. I sent 3 notices. This feeds the police station, I said, soft as Sunday. You knew that. We have standards, she answered, mouth going thin. Route your ugly cables somewhere that doesn't make us look like a junkyard. This is a public right-of-way, Davis said, stepping forward. It's an HOA-maintained entrance, Karen snapped. Read your covenants. She nodded at the left board member. Gary, take pictures. My eyes fell to fresh drag marks from the handhole into the flower bed. A shovel leaned behind the sign, dirt still clinging to the blade. Heat climbed my neck, then something heavier disbelief hardening into anger. Not just because the phones were down, because it was careless. Because people matter. One day you might need a patrol car to make it in time. Tom touched my sleeve. What do we do? I looked from the handhole to the utility cabinet across the road. I knew what lived there. Not because I was nosy, because this used to be my work. Networks, redundancy, keeping heartbeats beating. The county had roped me into emergency planning more than once. I kept a quiet volunteer badge in my wallet, the kind that lets you be on the shoulder when the day goes sideways. I didn't brag about it. I carried it like my father's pocket knife. 4 minutes, I told Davis. Give me 4, she squinted. What are you thinking? I didn't spend 30 years building networks to watch one die at a flower bed. Karen laughed, too loud for morning. He's going to fix the city with a coffee mug and nostalgia? I didn't answer. I opened my truck's glove box and pulled the badge. The lamination was scratched, but it still did its job. I showed Davis. Call your supervisor, I said quietly. Tell them I'm authorizing the emergency failover from the county drill, the one we hope we never use. Recognition flickered in her eyes. She keyed her radio and stepped back. Karen tried to wedge herself in with words. He has no authority, she hissed. This is private. No, I said, not raising my voice. This is a community. A breeze lifted. The flag at the station half a mile off tugged toward the river. Somewhere, a siren tried to wake the day and failed. I remembered my father teaching me to tie a knot blindfolded. In the dark, he said, is when it matters. Davis pointed to the cabinet. Do it, and the quiet finally cracked where the day could live again. Asterisk, I didn't sprint. I measured my steps. That's how my father taught me to handle emergencies. Same pace as any other days. Fewer wasted moves. The cabinet door needed 2 hands and a steady pull. It opened with a groan you feel in your teeth. Warm air washed out dust, ozone, a hint of creosote from the pole. We'd planned this backup months ago, on a whiteboard in a county building that echoed with old voices and newer doubts. Nothing secret, just a lifeline any town should have. A secured, higher backbone reserved for public safety when what if becomes right now. My job had been simple. Make sure the router knew the difference between a drill and the real thing. I left a checklist, a note, a promise to pick up the phone if it ever came to this. We didn't bury details in manuals no one reads. We set them in the heads of people who care, sir. Karen's voice knifed across the road. You touch that, and I'll have you cited for tampering with HOA property. Davis slid between us, palm out. This cabinet isn't yours. It's Rhoda's, Karen shot back. I found the small metal tab. I'd tucked into place on a prior inspection, a cover over a port you don't notice unless you know to look. Not a magic button. Not Hollywood. Just a handshake for emergencies. Tell the system to favor the lifeline we all pay for and rarely see. My phone buzzed. County coordinator, authorized. Proceed. For min-max, I set. My hand on the metal and felt the cabinet's hum settle into my palm like a second pulse. One slow breath. My wife inside tapping the rim of my father's mug when she refills it. The officer I met last fall who missed his daughter's birth because a backup failed. A small town big enough to care for its own. All right, I whispered. Let's bring you back. I made the change, no flourish, no drama. Just a practiced motion, a confirmation I could have done, deaf and fingerless, and the patience you learn from years of separating panic from purpose. The cabinet clicked, then clicked again, a second voice joining the first. Static cracked on Davis's radio. A dispatcher's voice slid through like sun through blinds. Unit 12. Dispatch restored. Repeat. Dispatch restored on primary. All units confirm. In the short beat before replies, the world widened. Mowers started 2 blocks over. A dog barked and got an answer. Tom let out a laugh like he'd been holding his breath for 10 minutes. Someone clapped behind me. I kept my eyes on the indicators reading rhythm, not victory. 30 heartbeats. I learned that in a windowless server room with a clock only right twice a day. Count your heartbeats and let the system settle. 4 minutes, Davis said, checking her watch. Exactly 4. Stay on this path till your field splice is done, I said. Then roll back. Don't lean on it any longer than you have to. Karen drifted in close enough for me to smell her perfume. Do you realize what you've done? She said, you undermined our authority. You turned this place into a free-for-all. Close the cabinet. The latch snapped home. No, ma'am, I said. I kept people safe. Her composure cracked. Just a hairline fracture, but it was there. You installed that conduit against standards. I told the landscapers to make a clean line. They're under contract. If they happen to hit something, Davis lifted a hand. Say that again? Karen blinked. She wasn't used to her sentences having consequences. Gary's camera drooped as if it had gained weight. You just admitted you ordered work that cut a public safety fiber. Davis said evenly. On a right-of-way you don't control, Karen tried on concern like a new coat. I was protecting property values. We need uniformity. I thought of a mother calling 911 and waiting, of an officer turning toward a call and hearing only hiss. The day was back on its rails, but my jaw still felt like stone. 2 patrol cars rolled in, lights polite rather than blinding. Sergeant Callahan stepped out. Steady, man. Help me haul lumber when I brace the barn. He took in the cabinet, the cut, the shovel by the sign, and the board members fading into landscaping. Stable? He asked. For now, Davis said. Temporary until the splice. Callahan rocked on his heels. All right, he told Karen. We'll need statements. She stiffened. Do you have any idea who I am? He gave a half smile with no humor. A citizen who's about to answer questions. Neighbors gathered in that quiet, worried way people do when sirens start and then don't. Faces from parades and cookouts. Mr. Given's widower. Leaves cookies at our gate each Christmas. Caught my eye and gave the smallest nod. It felt like a hymn. I'll be at the barn, I told Davis. If your techs need a table or shade, this isn't over. Karen called after me. For today it is, I said. And that's enough. Back at the porch, my boots made that slow gravel crunch that sounds like time itself. The flag tugged at the pole, eager for a breeze. I lifted my father's mug and took a sip. The coffee had gone a little bitter, but it tasted like a promise kept. By afternoon, the repair crew had a canopy up and a clean length of fiber laid out like a vein waiting for a surgeon's hand. The sun leaned west. The town's noise returned to its natural register mowers, a far table saw, laughter behind a hedge. Calm isn't always quiet. Sometimes it's ordinary sounds doing what they're meant to do. Callahan worked the gate with a clipboard and a steady walk statements. Photos and a county attorney who didn't mince words. Karen tried everything. Deflection, indignation, tears. None of it changed the shovel in the flower bed. The HOA maintenance order she'd pushed without a permit, or the contractor's texts about cleaning the eyesore by noon. You can rewrite your story. Your phone won't. He met me by the flag. Looked up at it, then at me. You kept your head, he said. Old habit, I said. Panic never fixed a server. It just made the room hotter. We're filing charges for tampering with critical infrastructure, he said. There'll be fines. Maybe worse. The county's going to study this HOA's maintenance practices. I didn't cheer. It wasn't that kind of day. I thought about how things break small before they break big, how a sign that says standards keep us. Safe can hide the opposite when the person holding it loves control more than safety. Under a shade tree, Karen glared at me like I'd stolen something she already took. When Callahan approached, she gathered her edges. You can't criminalize good intentions, she said. We don't, he replied evenly. We hold people responsible for actions. The board shifted. Gary cleared his throat. Karen, you told us. She spun so fast the leaves stepped back. Don't you dare. Sometimes justice is loud. Sometimes it's paperwork and sunlight. This was the second kind. A county investigator arrived moved, like a schoolteacher who'd seen every trick. She listened more than she talked. She let Karen's words walk themselves in circles. She took pictures without asking anyone to pose. Midway through, Mrs. Howard from 2 doors down pressed a Tupperware into my hands. Chocolate chip, she said, eyes glossy. For when you do the right thing and don't brag about it. I stammered thanks. She squeezed my forearm with a hand that raised 3 kids in a garden big enough for 5. Davis's team finished their splice as the sky turned peach. She gave me a thumbs up from the handhole, then crossed over and shook my hand. Back on primary, she said. Backups rolled off clean. No errors. You did the hard part, I said. You gave us time, she answered. A small circle formed by the gate neighbors' officers, utility crew, board members who suddenly looked like they'd never met Karen. Callahan didn't grandstand. He laid out the charges, the process, and the fact that HOA rules don't outrank public safety. He talked about the difference between curb appeal and community care. Then he said the words, I wish my dad could hear me hearing. We look out for each other. The cuffs came out quiet. Professional rights read softly like a prayer. Karen looked at me. You made me the villain, she said. No, I said. You did that when you put control over people. No one clapped. The wind in the cottonwoods was enough. The patrol car door closed like a chapter ending, not a book. Hearings would come, and fines, and lawyers stacking papers like firewood. But the heartbeat was back. That's what mattered. After the cars left, Tom leaned on my fence the way he does when the day's too full. "I thought you were showing off talking about those drills," he said. I didn't get it. Handed him a cookie. "Most days, it's just a notebook in a drawer," I said. "Then one day, it's for minutes that matter." We watched Davis's crew pack up. The flag snapped in an evening gust, like a promise. The sky went from peach to copper to that deep blue that pulls out the stars. I felt the good kind of tired, the kind you earn by carrying what needed carrying. On the porch, my wife set my father's mug on the rail and tapped my chest with 2 fingers, the way she does when words are too big. "Proud of you," she said. "Just did what needed doing," I said. "That's why," she smiled. Night came easy. Crickets started up. The river sounded closer. I sat on the steps and thought about legacy, not the kind you engrave on a plaque, but the kind that lives in small choices. Answering a neighbor's knock, cleaning up after a storm, holding a line fiber or moral when someone tries to cut it for convenience. Before bed, I walked out to the flag and laid a hand on the pole. The metal felt cool. Faint, but there. I could hear the town breathing again, radios blipping. Ambulances ready, dispatchers sipping coffee, and doing a job nobody notices until it's gone. I looked at the gate where the sign had hung like a false gospel and thought about the new one we'll need. Respect keeps us safe. The lake beyond the cottonwoods lay still, holding the last of the sky. For the first time in a long time, the stillness wasn't silence. It was peace. Life lesson: sometimes standing up for what's right means standing alone until others find the courage to join you. Viewer connection? Have you ever faced an HOA like this? Share your story in the comments. I read every one. Call to action. If you believe some fights are worth having, hit subscribe, and let's stand up together.